Welcome to Untold Physio Stories, a podcast that informs and educates by connecting you to rehab industry leaders who share their candid successes and failures in business and practice.
Welcome back to Untold Physio Stories. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. E with Modern Manual Therapy, Edge Mobility System, the Eclectic Approach, and my co-host, Dr. Andrew Rothschild with Modern Patient Education and Modern Manual Therapy is not in today. And it just so happens that my last story was so well received that I got Dr. Brett Scott back with us on the podcast today. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back.
All right. I feel like it's not been as long as as you would think with these episodes, the way they're released. But you have another interesting story?
Yeah, so this time I'm coming back with a clinical one for you.
Wow, that's great.
Yep.
Maybe. We don't know. I haven't heard this story. It might be a terrible story.
Yeah, so with the setting I'm in, so I have a niche practice doing cash PT in a strongman, powerlifting, weightlifting gym.
BridgeTheGap.com?
No, not Bridge the Gap.
Okay.
Continue the spectrum of care.com.
Okay.
A lifter in the gym that I had only known about these things because of being his friend and not being his clinician or PT at the time, suddenly kind of got ill over the winter with what we thought was just the flu. But he had these dizzy spells that kind of went along with it. So it was about a month that he was out of the gym, out of commission completely, and then came back. And his dizzy spells had continued and still couldn't squat because he just felt off balance. And I kind of noticed, like, with different intensities, they would get worse. So he went, and I knew he had seen a vestibular specialist as a PT. He had been to an ear, nose, throat specialist. He had been to a neurologist. They looked at him for strokes, and nothing kind of came of that. So that went on for about 6 months of him getting no answers, and he was told, "You're just powerlifting too heavy, so just stop powerlifting, and things will get better." So I knew things had persisted. So fast forward,
he had stopped lifting.
He had stopped lifting for a long time, and finally came back and just did what he could, based on whatever he could tolerate, and didn't make his symptoms worse. So then I hadn't seen him for a while, just based on our hours in the gym and stuff. So fast forward, so he came to me for some back pain, and he thought he had herniated a disc in his back. So he didn't tell me any background about anything else, but having known it as a friend in the gym, it was a little bit different. So he told me he had some numbness and tingling in his foot, or he just felt like his leg was not connected. And kind of with all the other signs and symptoms that were still there. And I asked him, like, so did this happen about the same time as the flu and the dizziness? And he was like, yeah, it did. I was like, okay, well, have you talked to any of the other doctors? Because everything was kind of looked at individually. And he never put two and two together. And I think if I wasn't a clinician that was also in there as like a coach and someone that was always on the gym floor knowing what was going on, it wouldn't have been caught, because any mechanical position I put him in, I could not reproduce symptoms. There was nothing that screamed out to me that he did have a disc herniation. So I told him the symptoms didn't really seem right. He needed a second opinion on what's been going on. So he went for an MRI. Still came back clear.
MRI of his what?
C-spine.
Okay.
And then because things seemed upper cervical or even brainstem. I think they ended up doing a brain MRI too. That still came back with nothing. And then I actually had another patient tell me about a friend of hers who, something very rare, but had a CSF leak, so cerebrospinal fluid. So I looked it up, kind of went through all the symptoms. Like, it just dawned on me that this is something that he's probably dealing with too. So I kind of told him about that with my findings, because I referred him out anyways, knowing it was something we couldn't really fix right away. So,
did he have a runny nose?
he had a runny nose for that whole first month, which he thought was the flu.
Right.
But a flu usually only lasts a week or two, not a month or more. So, and that was one of the big things, was the drainage thing. So, sent them back for a third opinion. They did another, I think they did a different type of MRI to find flow issues. And he came back, he does have a suspected leak that they need to look further into now. And hopefully he gets the treatment he needed. But
yeah, I don't even know what the treatment is for that, actually.
Yeah, there's a couple different options. They can do a surgery. They can do what's called a blood patch. But it was just the fact that no one had put two and two together, because they were all asking about only the upper body symptoms and not how the leg was tied in, or that those are just major red flags.
Right. Awesome. That's an interesting story. Good find. Good differential diagnosis. I've heard other cases too, like a woman recently, she just thought she had chronic sinus issues and constant runny nose for like years, and it turns out she had a CSF leak too. And many times these things are after like minor MVAs or car accidents or minor traumas. And, you know, I think you said initially before when you were introing the story, and I said, stop telling me because I want to be surprised. You said he was also like, his volume was way too high before.
His volume and intensity, which was a big...
Do they think that something like that could actually cause a leak?
With the Valsalva maneuver and
all
that,
that's what I was thinking.
Use in powerlifting, and just your intracranial pressure can go up. So that was the big thing to me. That was like, because it's not really something you usually think about, but in a powerlifting situation,
right?
Definitely something a little more plausible.
Yeah, you Valsalva a lot more than the average person would be doing. Yeah. Okay. So awesome. Where can people find you on social media if they want to reach out?
So I am on...
If they want to bridge the gap.
We're not bridging the gap anymore.
Oh, man.
So we're just completing the spectrum.
The gap's so big sometimes.
Yeah, we try to complete it. But no, so I'm on Instagram at barbell.therapy. You can find my Facebook link there as well. My website is barbelltherapyandperformance.com. And if you wanted to email me, it's brett@barbelltherapyandperformance.com.
All right. No trolling, people. Forgot to say this in the last podcast, but you can follow me, Dr. E, Modern Manual Therapy, on social media at modmt.com/Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter. So whichever your social media platform of choice is. No Snapchats for me, but we don't need that anymore. Everything is copied their platform. You could also subscribe to themanualtherapist.com via email, so you get exclusive Edge Mobility System discounts and get weekly blog updates. Used to be daily, but reading is a lost art, so I decided not to do that as much anymore. Check out an Eclectic Approach course live. All three of my flagship courses, upper quarter, lower quarter, assessment and treatment, modern patient education, and modern strength training, are now all on Edge Mobility System, where we have ISTM tools, our own Edge restriction BFR cuffs, and full certifications. And I hope to see you in an Eclectic Approach course soon. Make sure you subscribe to Therapy Insiders and Untold Physio Stories on Stitcher, Spotify. You can tell I haven't been doing those ones very long. You can say, okay, Google, please listen to Untold Physio Stories podcast and rate us 5 stars on iTunes. And as always, you guys have an awesome day.